Hello everybody and welcome to another NFL 2020 season preview video. Today we're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders as we continue with the AFC West, so let's begin. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders, very interesting team, and I think I can't be the only one who thought to themselves when John Gruden and Mike Mayock took this team over, oh boy, this is going to be fun. And it kind of has been. They haven't really disappointed. Now, biases aside, it does look like, especially this past offseason, that Mike Mayock and John Gruden are putting together a very competitive team that has potential to surprise people. And I think, after they clear a couple more hurdles and things go well in terms of injuries, they don't have very many. This team can be competitive and I think has a shot at the playoffs. It just sucks that they happen to be in the same division as the defending Super Bowl champs who are leading the arms race of this division. So what they decided to do this offseason is get faster and get stronger, similar to what the Chiefs have done. Now, we all know this is a copycat league, so of course the formula might look a little similar. Before we get into the projected depth chart for the 2020 season, let's of course do the 2019 recap. They were 7-9 overall last year. Offense was ranked 11th in the league. That's ninth. They were 9th in passing and 13th in rushing. Total defense was 19th in the league, 25th against the pass, 9th against the run. That's pretty good. John Gruden is, of course, your head coach, entering his 7th year with a career record of 106 and 102. Snapshot of the previous 4 years: in 2018 they were 4-12, 2017 they were 6-10, 2016 was 12-4, and 2015 was 7-9. So they've come a long way since that 2016 season, and I think they have a chance to ascend this year. Of course, when I think of John Gruden, Mike, and John Gruden, at least essentially when he took over this football team, I think of the Khalil Mack trade, and then last year how the Antonio Brown situation blew up in their face. So if they are able to overcome the challenges that present themselves, this team should be able to be competitive. And I think that the talent that they've put together, especially this past draft and past free agency session, they've made some really good acquisitions. And it's one of my big talking points for the three big storylines. But this rookie class is great. I love it, top to bottom. I think it's fantastic. You've got Lynn Bowden, you've got John Simpson, you've got Amika Robertson. Amika Robertson was pick 139. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm going to talk about this later. Let's go ahead and just jump into the projected depth chart for this season. Now, disclaimer, this is going to get a little bit more difficult. I'm filming this on the day that a lot of players have decided to opt out. So as things go on, this is going to be a more fluid situation than we might normally be used to. I think we're going to see some changes coming in the days and weeks ahead. So right now, this of course is just projected. It could change the minute I upload this video. It could change tomorrow, rendering a lot of this irrelevant. But we're just going to forge ahead as if everything is normal, even though it's not, which is a weird situation to be in. So let's get started with the projected depth chart. Going to start on offense, which I think could be on fire this season. Quarterback is, of course, wow, I already fucked that up. The quarterback is, of course, Derek Carr, who had a really surprisingly decent season last year, 4,000 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Of course, they did bring Marcus Mariota in free agency to improve the backup situation, and somebody that could also push to take over the starting role should Carr struggle early. Moving on to the running back spot, we have Jacobs, who was a phenomenal rookie last year and is going to be the workhorse for Gruden's offense moving forward. Now, for the receiver options, we have Darren Waller, tight end, who is now one of the better pass-catching tight ends after his breakout season last year. Henry Ruggs was your first overall pick for the Raiders in the 2020 draft. And we also have Hunter Renfrow and Tyrell Williams returning, who were second and third in catches as far as leading the team, if you will. They were second and third in catches last year for the Raiders. So if Henry Ruggs can produce at the level that he did at Alabama and then some, if he can be what Antonio Brown was supposedly supposed to be for this offense, I think Derek Carr, I did it again. I think Derek Carr could definitely do better than the season he had last year, which was still a pretty good season. So this offense has the weapons and the potential to light up the scoreboard. And the offensive line is actually pretty good too. We've got Colton Miller at left tackle. We've got Richie Incognito at left guard, so that's a pretty solid left side. Hudson is a very, very solid offensive lineman in this league. He should do well. Jackson and Brown on the right side. Trent Brown is, of course, a right tackle who has that position on lockdown. So The offensive line is good, and they have some depth that they re-signed this year in order to keep it that way, so they won't have a lot of new parts that they got to figure out how to mold into the system. They have a lot of experience in that building. So the offense, I think, is set. It looks good. Moving on to the defense, going to start with the safeties, Demarius Randall and Jonathan Abram. I think this is a pretty underrated safety tandem. Demarius Randall comes over from the Browns in free agency. Jonathan Abram, of course, did miss all of last year with the exception of one game due to injury. Abram was one of my favorite safeties, and I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, that he was one of my favorite safeties coming out in the draft 2 years ago. It was between him, Darnell Savage, and Juan Thornhill. But Abram should be a great player in this league, and I hope that injury, that lost season, is now behind him. Moving on to the corner position, we of course have Trayvon Mullen, we have Damon Arnett, the draft pick this year that they brought in to hopefully replace Garyon Conley, who is now in Houston, and they also have Nevin Lawson on the roster and Isaiah Johnson. So this is a pretty good secondary, and one that I'm envious of, because not only did they draft Damon Arnett, they also drafted Amik Robertson, who I can't believe lasted until pick 139. I think he has some great coverage abilities, and I think he could work his way into getting some serious reps on this defense. Now, Lawson could absolutely start, but I'm going to go with Arnett because I believe that if you're going to spend that kind of draft capital on a corner, you're absolutely going to play him, and I think Arnett is going to make his way into the starting roster spot sooner than later. Linebacker position is a far cry from years ago. Vontaze Burfict is out. We now have Morrow, and then by free agency they signed Littleton and Kwiatkowski, I think is how you pronounce his name. So it's a suspect area and could be their weakness, but I'm sure that Gruden will be able to make it work. He's made a lot of things work so far. On the defensive line, we have Clelin Ferrell, the former 4th overall pick from 2 years ago. We have Maurice Hurst, Hankins, and Max Crosby, who was a 4th-round selection, I believe, who finished with 10 sacks last year. He actually outperformed Clelin Ferrell, who went in the 1st round. Ferrell had 4.5 sacks. So they need to push Ferrell to absolutely improve his production to meet that draft pedigree that he has, being the 4th overall pick. And I remember, Mayock sort of kind of gleaming that he was the smartest man in the room when he made that draft selection. And so far, Ferrell's been pretty average, but the pass rush is decent, and I think it could get better this season. Also, Raiders fans, talk to me about PJ Hall. Is he going to get any playing time this year? I think he had 1.5 sacks last year. Seems like he might be on his way out. I don't know. I don't know how he gets a roster spot with all these really good defensive line players. But anyway, that is a glance at the projected depth chart starters for the Las Vegas Raiders for the 2020 season. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule for the Raiders upcoming this year. I think it's kind of funny that, dating back to the days of Al Davis being alive, owning this team, that the NFL front office, or at least the schedule makers, seem to enjoy trolling this team, because if you look at this schedule, there's no back-to-back home games until the second half of the season, and oh yeah, you get back-to-back home games against the Broncos and Chiefs. Enjoy that. And then you do get 3 games at home at the end of the year, between the Colts, Chargers, and Dolphins. All should probably be very competitive or winnable games. But then it's like, oh yeah, go to Denver in the middle of winter, enjoy that at Mile High Stadium. So I don't know. To me, it seems like they're being trolled. And really the key focus for the Raiders this year is they can't do as bad as they did last December for this December. Now, having three home games towards the end of the season, 3 out of the last 4 being at home, that's a nice touch. That's a little bit of a bonus for them. But I believe they went 1-4 in December last season, and you can't do that. You just absolutely cannot back yourself into a corner late in the season when you're trying to secure a playoff spot. So if they do better in December, I believe this team has a legitimate shot at getting a wild card, because I don't think anybody's going to dethrone the Chiefs as divisional champions anytime soon. Although if things go well, they could compete for it. So they open on the road against the Panthers, then a home game against the Saints, road game against the Patriots, another troll, home game against the Bills, road game against the Chiefs. Tom Brady comes to town in Vegas with the Bucks, back-to-back road games with the Browns and the Chargers. Then you have the Broncos, Chiefs, Falcons on the road, Jets on the road, Colts at home, Chargers at home, Dolphins at home, and the Broncos to end the season, as we have already mentioned. 3 big storylines that I'm looking at. How well is this rookie class going to do? I love it, top to bottom. Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett, Amik Robertson, John Simpson. Lynn Bowden. What are they going to do with Lynn Bowden? How will they utilize him? He's a jack of all trades slash player. He'll be exciting to see how they work into that offense. Big storyline number 2, we've already really talked about Clelin Ferrell. Is his production going to go up? Is he worthy of that fourth pick, or fourth overall pick that he was 2 years ago, or 1 year ago in the 2019 draft? They brought in some talent to sort of give him a little bit of a push. We'll see how he responds to it. And then big storyline number 3, how are they going to use Lynn Bowden? Already talked about that. This offense is catered for to potentially be explosive, and he could add another wrinkle to that. He could be another Percy Harvin or an Antoine Randall. We never know. So that's going to do it for this episode of the 2020 NFL Previews. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.